So we're going to be jacking up the car. Don't forget your jack stands, and make sure you loosen up your lug nuts before you get it into the air. If you're using just hand tools, it makes it a little easier on you. You don't have the wheels spinning as you're trying to loosen up your lug nuts. Alright, now we're going to be taking care of the lugs. One of the purchases I made a couple years ago was this cobalt ratcheting breaker bar. This thing is fantastic. I literally use it in every job, and even as a hand tool, this thing has come in handy more than just about any power tool that I have in the garage. Like I said, every job I've used, or I've at least, tried to use this in order to get the job done quicker. But all you have to do, loosen these up, get them not off, but just loose so it's easier to pull them off once you have the tire in the air. Alright, so next we're going to be moving on to these two 14mm bolts here. That will be releasing your caliper off of the brake pads themselves there. Alright, you can hop out. But we're going to have two more 14s. This is going to release your bracket here that actually holds your brakes and calipers. I'm going to remove the pads just so they don't go flying out at me. Alright. These are a little tougher because they're touched less. You don't have as much moving, or as many moving parts in it as you do in little squishy brackets. Okay. There's one. And there's two. Alright, and then you're just going to get an impact, or you can do this with even a hand ratchet. Bada bing, bada boom. You have removed your rotor with minimal effort. Alright, so now we're going to be putting on these rotors. We got drilled and slotted rotors for the Forester. Make it a little more race car, So we're just going to slap those bad boys right on there. And now we're going to be putting together our caliper. We're going to pop out these old clips here. Bada bing, bada boom. It doesn't really matter on these rears because they're both identical, but in the front you want to make sure you know which ones are which, because you're going to have two different types. If you get those backwards, you might start rubbing in different places where you shouldn't be, and getting weird noises and customer complaints and all that good stuff. So, get that put together in there. Now you got your clips set into your caliper bracket. Now we're going to slide the caliper bracket right back here, and just replace these two bolts, 14mm. They're a little bit thicker than your actual caliper bolts, so kind of hard to get them confused.
And a little longer.
And a little longer, a little chunky. Alright. Here is the second one. Look, Ma, no eyes. Alright, and just for time's sake, the Husky.
Not sponsored.
Not sponsored. Alright. So now I'm going to show you how to recess this piston here. You're going to take your old brake pad and a mid-size C-clamp. You can use a really big one, but nothing too small. You need a little bit of force behind it. And if you're not going to bleed your brakes, this is a really good, not alternative, but something you can do in order to keep all your fluids in there. You don't got to worry about bleeding your brakes and stuff. Yep. So you're just going to get that seated really well like that. You're just going to keep pressing and pressing and pressing until you bottom it out. You can't move it anymore. Just back it off like a quarter turn. Pull that off, pull the brake pad out, and you have a recessed piston. And now that is ready to go on, but first we have to get our brake pads in there. So let's take care of that. Alright, so while applying this, our kit with these brakes and rotors actually came with a little bit of grease here for the brake pad itself. This just goes right onto these ears right here. Generously, but not too much. You don't want it getting all over your brake pad and your rotor once you get them all mounted. Just a little bit on here. And this is going to be our rear. Actually got it flipped around backwards. Let's get it going like so. And just put bottom end first. Yeah, slide it back. You got to get it into that little notch there. You just have to push that clip back a little bit. And bam. Make sure it's not crooked or anything in there. You want to make sure it's got a good seat, even on top and bottom. Make sure your rotor's also pushed back all the way while doing this. There we go. Let's move on to the other brake. Nice. Alright. Now that we've gotten grease absolutely everywhere in here, let's go for some brake clean. Clean some of this up, clean up the little bits, and then we're going to apply our caliper. Get all the dirt and contaminants from my fingers off of the rotor. Make sure any dirt and contaminants that were on there before are not there anymore. Yeah. Now to apply the caliper back on. Make sure everything's lining up good. Make sure these are lined up right. There we go. Get that snug. Alright, so our caliper support bolts, they're going to go down to 59 foot-pounds of torque. And those are the larger 14 millimeters on the rear there, or on the on the deeper side in here. So let's get those snugged down. Oh, that's 17 millimeter. All right, now we're going to be tightening the caliper bolts here, the other set of 14s, to 20 foot-pounds of torque. That's already good. Alright, one more time before we throw the wheel back on, I'm just going to do a quick brake clean. Just make sure all those contaminants are off of there. I touched it a couple times. Want to make sure everything is good. Now let's throw the wheel back on there. Now let's get this wheel back on. Alright, so I'm going to hand do the lugs at first. Make sure you get them all threaded on there right. I always do lugs in a star pattern. You don't have to. It doesn't make a difference at first until you're tightening it. You want to do a star pattern. I am just so, I don't know, intense into the star pattern that I have to at all times when I'm using 5 lugs. Now I'm just going to zip them on, and I'm not going to use any pressure other than just to get them snug, and then we're going to take a torque wrench and take care of the rest of it there. Just want to snug up the wheel. Don't want to get it, yeah, that was a little too tight there. There we go. Alright, we got 89 foot-pounds on the rear tire, or on the tire lugs here. So we're going to get this set up to that. About there. Alright, now those are down to spec. We got the wheel all put together, brakes and everything are ready to go, so that's it for the rear tire. We're going to do a little hyperlapse over the front wheel here, get that all taken care of. But if you guys have any comments on what we did today, hit us down in the comments section down below. Let us know what you're thinking. If you have any questions, we're definitely on there to help you guys. But other than that, like, subscribe, share, and we'll see you guys next time on RAC Racing. Have a great night. And that is it for the Forester's brake job today, ladies and gentlemen. We got the rotors, pads, got the brake split out a little bit there. And yeah, I hope you guys all enjoyed. Thank you for sticking around through the hyperlapse there. Hopefully it turned out pretty decent for you. But like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.